Hey guys, in this video I want to talk about retaliate skills, answer some questions, how we work because it may be a bit confusing, and just give my impression. My impression is kind of not really meeting my expectation, but maybe my expectation was too high. And this is not going to be about the build, nor it's going to be about the damage. Well, it's too early to judge the damage, but while leveling, it's definitely on the clunky side, and I'm not sure if I would recommend leveling with them, especially if you're not gladiator. Until you get a high enough block chance for attacks and for spells, it just really feels very clunky, and it does have some inbuilt clunkiness. There's a small window during which you can activate them, and they also have a cooldown, and you can kind of juggle. So my overall impression so far, which is I'm not even in maps yet, the leveling process wasn't that great, and I'm mainly using Crushing Fist and Eviscerate. Now, as soon as I tried Crushing Fist at like level 4, I think immediately I was kind of disappointed because it just a fist falls from the sky, which should sound cool, but like it didn't really have impact, and the AoE is not that great, and the AoE is not that far away from you, so it does have a certain reach from you, and then like impact AoE, which isn't that big. So sometimes it's hard to measure how far you can reach with it, and the visuals are not very clear. So it makes it even harder to understand how far you can reach with Crushing Fist. But as soon as I tried Eviscerate, it just felt great because Eviscerate has big AoE, big cone attack. It even reaches off screen. It doesn't have a hitbox like 100% in its cone. It has a cone, but it shoots like multiple kind of spikes or multiple cones. And it can miss enemies, but overall Eviscerate just felt great. So those are the two skills that I used the most. I did test all the other skills, and I just right now tested the Sword Storm, which is like the dual wield one, and it actually had more AoE than I expected, but I did get quite a lot of AoE from the passive tree. The Glacial Swipe is scaling with the shield value, so it should work well with Spectral Shield Throw, Shield Crush, stuff like that, but scales off shield. But it is a physical conversion to cold, so it also has its own limit. Divine Retribution is a spell version of Retaliate skills, and it does look cool and it does cover big AoE, but it's a spell, so most likely you're not going to be playing Gladiator, which is probably the best class to play if you want to max out your block. I want to answer some kind of questions. For example, does Crushing Fist work with Unarmed? And I was actually wrong, it does work with Unarmed. It said Crushing Fist deals weapon damage in an area. So I thought that it does require a weapon, but no, actually you can use Unarmed and Crushing Fist. So you could use Face Breakers. Another thing that I'm gonna get out of the way, Vengeful Cry does not work with Auto Exertion. It does only work with our War Cries, but it does not specifically work with Retaliate skills, and Vengeful Cry is a Retaliation skill. So you cannot really automate, and even if you could, it wouldn't give you Rage, so there would be pretty much no point using it. Maybe you can actually automate with the Eternal Apple. I didn't really look into those changes, maybe. Okay, now onto the main part is how exactly they work, because you can juggle multiple, like chain multiple retaliation skills, and by chain I mean just use them in sequence if you have a chance for another retaliation skill to become usable, which is coming from a couple of sources. This, for example, 25% chance when used a retaliation skill for a different retaliation skill to become usable. Now, what exactly does that mean? That does not mean that you can just spam them, because we still have cooldown. If you want to spam a single retaliation skill, you pretty much have to be Gladiator and get this node. I'm not sure if there are other sources of this chance. 50% chance for used retaliation skill to remain usable and not consume cooldown juice. As far as I know, that's the only way to spam one retaliation skill. Here's the thing. They do not share cooldowns. They have their own separate cooldown. But what they do share is the retaliation skill becomes usable for 2 seconds base. That is shared. So let's say you block once, and pretty much all the retaliation skill require you to block, except the War Cry thing, but that doesn't do damage. Imagine you block only once, ever. You only block once, all the skills that require you to block become available for you to cast manually. They do have animation, they do have cast time, and they do have attack time, so you don't want to be very slow. So you block once, all the skills become usable for 2 seconds, and you see as a circle on each of the skill like sort of ticking down or ticking around, and that indicates how much time you have left for skills to be usable. So you can reposition yourself and use the skill. If you use any of the skills, all of them become unusable. So you have to choose which one to use. If you are trying to use multiple, and if you want to use multiple, then you do need for a chance for a different retaliation skill to become usable when you use one. So that's how you can kind of chain them, but it's a chance based, so it doesn't always happen, but it felt almost pretty much always. But I think that's because you can reset this become usable with another block. So in practice, you're gonna get hit by multiple enemies, and you're most likely gonna block multiple hits, and you're just gonna reset to become usable. You can increase this duration for become usable, and I think that's actually a very important stat, because when the skills become usable, essentially you can just keep spamming it. If you have like a chaining retaliation skills, so you can keep spamming them without requiring you to get a block again, right? So again, single target, it feels like it's a almost mandatory stat to get. You block once, you click one retaliate skill, you roll a chance for another retaliation skill to become usable, and you can immediately continue using that. When another retaliation skill becomes usable, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm like 95% sure, maybe even 99% sure that when you trigger another retaliation skill to become usable, it does not reset the usable time. So if you have 2 seconds, in the first second you perform one retaliate skill, in the second remaining 1 second, you perform another retaliate skill. It will not reset the timer to 2 seconds. It will just expire pretty much immediately. And that's why it feels kind of mandatory to get another skill usable. How do I say this in easier terms? You want to extend the duration during which you can do damage with retaliate skills, because then you can just keep rotating between those different retaliation skills over and over if you're lucky enough to roll the chances. Otherwise, you would need to refresh it with a block, which again, single target may actually be very clunky because some bosses don't really hit you very often, right? So Gladiator's Node, this one that just straight up adds 2 second duration to usable duration, seems like it's gonna be really good. You can extend that from the passive tree. Retaliation skills become usable for 20% longer, another 20. There are a couple other sources, and currently for me they are 3.4 seconds. And eviscerate is 4 seconds because I am using expert retaliation support, which essentially lowers the cooldown and extends the usable duration. Now, my experience so far, I'm going Gladiator. I'm already sort of capped on block, but I will be getting like another 20% block once I get the lucky block. The triggering block is not really an issue, especially going through monsters. You do need to stop from time to time. Obviously, if you just never stop, it's actually quite easy to just not get hit. But again, single target, it definitely feels like it's lacking damage. And my Crushing Fist is currently on a 5 link and Eviscerate is on a 4 link. But I am getting quite a bit of damage for them, and it just doesn't feel that great. But I mean, I don't want to judge the skill just yet because I'm not even in maps yet, but kind of expected it to perform better in the campaign. Like I expected on a 4 link to just one-shot bosses. But it doesn't. Sometimes it takes like 5 hits from 100% crit chance, 5 hits to kill some rares. That's nuts. And blocking 5 hits is kind of difficult. It's not like you can just cast the skill whenever you want, especially if you got one rare that doesn't attack very often. So you're probably gonna want to support this kind of playstyle with like slam skills, but if you want to use slam skills, you cannot really use certain retaliate skills because like Eviscerate only works with swords. It requires a sword or axe and a shield. So it does require a shield. Then the Crushing Fist can be used with any weapon, any melee weapon, including Unarmed. Divine Retribution is a spell, so it doesn't matter your weapon. Then Glacial Shield Swipe does require a shield because it is a shield damage. And Swordstorm requires dual wielding melee weapons. And as a dual wield, you do get a base block. And by the way, the Gladiator's Node that overrides the shield block with 50% chance, it's only for shield. If you are dual wielding, it's not gonna override it. And if you don't have a shield, if you are playing with the two-handed weapons, it's also not gonna give you a 50% block. It requires a shield. But it does, like this node itself, doubles the inherent values of dual wielding. So it still has its own value. And you can still get spell block by getting versatile combatant and just overcapping your attack block. I don't even have Tempest Shield and I'm still almost capped at attack and spell block. I'm missing like 5% spell block right now, but I'm not even in maps yet. So I'm gonna fix that and I'm gonna get lucky, so it's gonna increase the chances to block even more. So yeah, I don't want to make this video too long. I just wanted to explain a bit about Retaliate skills. From what I had, Eviscerate is working pretty well with Bleed, but other than that, I haven't really had anyone saying that it's amazing or anything cool happening. So I would like to know your opinion if you played with the Retaliation skills. What do you think about them? Are they kind of are they meeting your expectations, or are they a bit disappointing, especially going through the campaign? I'm sure that later on you can invest more and just you can pretty much make any skill really good with the investment. I'm getting sidetracked, but the flame ward was doing like 10 times more damage through the campaign compared to this, and this was supposed to be like 2000% attack damage. Whoa, that's insane. Although in lower levels you don't have that number, but right now I'm level 58, and it's almost 1.8 thousand effectiveness of either damage, and it's on a 5 link, and it's just not really. Sorry, I should have mentioned Fist of War. Fist of War does work with Crushing Fist. Fist of War is the one that creates like ancestral specter on your back that slams with 2 hands, and it does have its own cooldown, so you kind of want to match your Crushing Fist to be a bit longer cooldown than the Fist of War. That way every time you use it, it will be with the Fist of War. So yeah, I didn't really want to make this video long, but it's gonna be like an average 10 minutes, 12 minutes. So yeah, leave your comments. What do you think about the Retaliate skills so far? So yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye bye.